much meaning this word holds for the Russian heart. It is the Volga that is the real shed, not all this other stuff. If you could at least somehow buy a regular Volga with vouchers, say, outside of Spetsposeltorg, this one, no way. And the Soviet person didn't need it anyway. At least that's likely what the party thought. To own a car, and especially a wagon, all transport was handled by specific services. Ambulances for the hospital, taxis for the station. They served all these organizations. Gaz 2402 or 2404. What's the difference? We'll get to that a bit later. In reality, things were more banal and more disappointing. Very few station wagons were produced. Over the entire production period, the Gorky automobile plant, including the 02s and similar models, produced only 70,000 cars. For a country like the USSR, that's just a drop in the bucket, not nearly enough to meet demand. But how did it all begin? Work on the new Volga started because the old Gaz-21 and the Gaz-22 weren't used as taxis. Starting in 1958, the Gaz-24 design was approved by 1963. A year later, the first prototype was created and shown in the Kremlin. In 1967, the car went into mass production, and it was considered an icon of style among Soviet artists and engineers. But to be fair, it's worth noting that station wagons were also being developed. There were ideas, there were developments, but the country so badly needed a wagon. It only appeared in 1972. And once again, the Gaz-2402 is not just a Gaz-24 Volga with a different trunk. This, as if newly designed body, was specifically a station wagon, used for ambulances, taxis, and technical services. For example, the Gaz-2402 Escort, a mobile aircraft escort unit. But officially, pies were never transported in Volgas. And the 24s took the entire front end, distinctive and modern, with a chrome grille and a shiny bumper. It had more angles and straight lines than rounded shapes. Up to the pillar, it's a Volga, but everything behind that is new. The largest single piece of the car is the roof. It's 1,350 millimeters wide and just under 3 meters long. And why am I mentioning this? Because the stamping, it's really something. And secondly, there are no stiffening ribs, yet the roof doesn't flex. Also, on the station wagon taxis, there was no ridge on top. The regular ones had it, but not here. There aren't even any mounting points here. I mean, there aren't even any holes in the roof. Sorry, holes in the roof. After the front pillar, everything is unique. The doors have square frames and fake vent windows. Interestingly, the designer artists Leni Tsokolenko and Nikolai Kiriev, on all Gaz-24 models, they made the door windows curved, but on the 02, the rear side windows are flat. It's cheaper and more convenient for production, and more practical too, if anything. Practicality is everywhere here. Take, for example, the luggage compartment. Probably about 500 liters. In length, that is depth, it's over 2 meters. And the floor is absolutely flat. A very high floor. Why? It's very simple. The spare tire is hidden under the floor, which is very practical, since a dirty wheel doesn't get your things dirty. A floor below, outside, there's a 55-liter tank. It's also worth noting the stampings on the rear of the car for the reflectors, which were installed on the early model. For reference, all the structural features of the station wagon body mentioned above remained unchanged, surviving through 4 generations of sedans from the Gazi-24 to the 3110. The third row of seats. It's a pity that the little armrests on the sides are missing. Even though this is the luggage compartment, it's also part of the cabin, so it's trimmed in vinyl. The wheel arches are covered with plastic, which serve as armrests for the damned. Back when I was just a little kid, I absolutely loved riding all the way in the back on the third row, but I definitely do not feel that way anymore. To get inside the vehicle, you just need to step in right here. That's why they're called the damned. Well, sideways. And for one person, it's still manageable. But the practicality of the Volga doesn't end there. Here you can also fold down the second row in a 40-60 split. God, please let me be born again. It's convenient for transporting long items. Moreover, cargo supports rise up from the folded seatbacks so that the load doesn't damage the seats or press into your back when braking. With all the rows folded down, the trunk length up to the folding partition is 205 centimeters. The opening itself is 127 centimeters wide and 65 centimeters high. Let's start talking about the differences. When you open the hood, everything looks just like any other Volga. A 2.5-liter engine, 4 cylinders in a row, but there are not 95 horses here. There are 85. It's detuned to run on 76-octane gasoline. That's all there is to it here. The front part of the interior, as you might have guessed, is identical to a regular Volga. A trauma-safe dashboard, soft to the touch and impressively large. Again, finished with wood-patterned vinyl film and round air vents on the sides. A complete lack of any kind of buttons. This is a Volga after all. Everything is operated with knobs and pull switches. There are large folder-style pockets on the doors for documents, a speedometer with a needle, and a clock with a weekly wind-up. Well, let's go! Take a look at the seats. For taxis, both the front and rear seats were made of faux leather. That way they're easier to clean. Well, you never know what might happen. There were no tape players, or rather, no radios in taxis. Instead, there was either a blank panel or, as in our case, a radio telephone. Salam alaikum, brother. As for music, taxi drivers improvised however they wanted. A little stand made from aluminum wire and a small radio receiver. And if you made good money selling vodka, then you could get yourself a cassette player. Another striking attribute, ticking with a measured sound, is the meter. The taximeter TAM L1. They were produced at the Vladimir factory of Precision Mechanics. All taxis, and those were only Volgas, had these meters installed until the early 1990s. And this is a super gear-driven computer. Here you can see the total mileage, the paid mileage, the cash register, how much was earned, the base fare, 2,600 something. Turn the lever, and the taxi driver has already earned 20 kopecks for the base fare. For some reason it's 40 here, but okay, whatever. And then the meter would count off 2 kopecks either by mileage or by its internal clock if the speed did not exceed 10 kilometers per hour. It's driven by the gearbox. There's a splitter installed underneath. So essentially, a taxi has 2 speedometer counters. And this is the antenna. Yeah, well, the mount is broken, so we didn't install it. As a child, I really loved it, but I like the army one even more. It was really good to use. Well, when you open it up, you could use it to chop nettles or give someone a good whack. The taxi also came with all sorts of signs. Some of them said that the car only worked by order. Others indicated at what times the car was supposed to be on the line. A third type indicated which taxi depot this vehicle belonged to. But taxi drivers also had their own awards. For example, the Shock Worker of Communist Labor badge. That was cool. It was a point of pride to receive such a badge. As for the car's suspension, everything here is familiar. It's only worth mentioning for the sake of nostalgia. The rear is a bit different and differs from the sedan by having leaf springs. They're thicker here, 6 leaf springs instead of 5, like on the 24 model. The standard tires were replaced with truck tires, sized 7.35 by 14. Otherwise, everything else is the same. In the front, there's a kingpin suspension, and all the brakes are drum brakes. If this is the barn, then what did taxi drivers call the regular 24 Volga? Shrimp, because of the grille, the radiator, and the bumper guards. On the one hand, the turning radius of this car is decent, 5.6 meters. The car is long after all, 4.70 meters. But turning the wheel from lock to lock when making a U-turn, it's like a squirrel in a wheel. Four and a half turns. From lock to lock. Power steering? There is. Muscle powered. That's us. Muscle powered. Otherwise, a Volga is a Volga. A soft, confidently accelerating car, gently swaying on the road. The sound of the resonator at high revs hasn't changed at all. For decades. Visibility is excellent thanks to the thin pillars and the glass, and of course, the smell of a Soviet car. And of course, popping out of 4th gear, well, you can't do without that. Did you notice there's actually no rear window wiper on this car? And that's all because there's a special deflector mounted on top, which effectively keeps the dirt away. And at the same time, it also serves as a clever system for cabin ventilation. Pretty cool, right? An invention. And the right mirror shows? Yeah, it doesn't show anything at all. Well, whatever. Actually, Soviet cars didn't have a right side mirror. That was a luxury. But it's not where you'd expect it to be. And if you put it where you'd expect, you won't be able to see anything because of the vent window. There's a 9 horsepower difference compared to the regular 24. Can you feel it? Nope. Maybe, but only if you really push it. But that's not the main thing. This engine has a lot of torque. You shift up to a higher gear. There are 4 here, and just keep pulling, pulling, pulling. It'll keep going no matter what. At any speed. In short, this car isn't made for rushing around. You can even slow down to 40, and the engine will still pull and respond to the accelerator pedal. It's not exactly fun, of course, but it will confidently pull you into the bright past. The past arrived in 1987, when the Surrey was replaced on the assembly line by the updated model 24012. Essentially, it's the same thing, just simplified to suit the times. Even though it's sad that our Volk cars are gone and are unlikely to return, the main thing is that the Gorky automobile plant is still alive and probably thriving. That's wonderful. And the hunt continues.